Today's episode is all about why trying to just survive is holding you back, keeping you stuck, keeping you unmotivated, and probably unhappy. Before I get any hate on this, just hear me out. I'm not saying that your situation doesn't suck. I know that times are tough for a lot of people, and if you're listening to this, maybe that's you. I don't know your exact situation, your circumstances, or what's happening in your life. But I'm also a big believer that your circumstances don't dictate your experience, your happiness, or your potential. You are not your circumstances. You are so much more powerful than that. I know things might seem tough for you right now. That's probably why you're listening to this episode. And I wanted to put this together, a special short little episode just to inspire and lift you up. Listen in because I'm going to share 3 simple ways to help you shift from survival to sustainment and even thriving. You're going to hear a fun and practical way to shift your perspective because it's a lot deeper than just telling you to, hey, change your perspective on this. And I'm also going to give you a simple question you can ask to make your day today and any day better. Here's the deal. I can't change your situation, no matter how challenging it feels and difficult it is. I wish I could, but I can't. But I also know this. You don't need me to. You are stronger than you know and more powerful than you realize. I promise you this. By the end of this episode, you'll feel inspired, refreshed, and ready to shift out of survival mode into sustainment, thriving, and beyond. Welcome to the Goalden Girls podcast, where we believe you can have it all. I'm your host, Lisa Michaud, and I'm spilling tangible tips, goal-getting strategies, and real-life stories to inspire you to tackle your biggest dreams. You're a woman who knows you're made for more. Get ready to leave the excuses and self-doubt behind by being vulnerable, sharing your truth, and having honest conversations so you can succeed on your terms. Together, we'll set goals you'll actually achieve by staying motivated, having fun, and building a community of women empowering women. It's time to tap into your best self, get confident, and truly have it all. Goalden Girl, let's dive in. Well, hello there, and thank you so much for joining for this special episode of Goalden Girls podcast. I originally talked about this topic, about surviving and how to shift out of it, on a recent Facebook Live, and I thought, you know what? More women need to hear this. Like, everybody needs to hear this. So just to give you some context, I'm recording this on May 28th, 2020, in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. But I do believe that anytime you've been stuck in survival mode for too long, and you know when that is, you know, that this episode is something you can come back to and listen to. And so I hope that it's still relevant for years to come. Today's episode, I'm calling it special because it's a little different than some of my others. It's frankly a little less polished, but I do hope you enjoy it. It's going to be nice, short, and a little quickie in the best sense, and I hope that the important thing is that I get my point across. And the point is this, that trying to survive is just not enough, and it's keeping you stuck, it's keeping you paralyzed, it's keeping you in reactive mode, afraid, unmotivated, and unhappy. Can we just agree that we don't want any of those things? So before you turn this off or want to punch me through your phone, I want to be super clear with you. I understand that some situations are challenging. Some things, it sucks. And I can't change everyone's suck. And my gosh, you guys, I wish that I could. But I also don't believe that we have to. I don't believe you need me to save you. And I don't believe that we have to change your situation in order to change yourself and to change your life. Trust me when I say this. I'm not saying this from a place of no compassion. I have compassion. I know some of you, a lot of you are struggling with fear, with anxiety, and I've struggled with these things too. I know you have uncertainty in your business. You may have lost your job. You've got children at home or you're separated from family. There's isolation happening, financial losses, uncertainty everywhere, and heck, maybe all of the above. Let me say this to you. Sometimes we do have to survive. There can actually be benefits to being in survival mode. Sometimes when we are in survival mode, it brings us closer to our partners and communities. It allows us to focus on what's important and we pull together. Sometimes survival mode allows us to access parts of ourselves that we wouldn't otherwise be able to. We are stronger than we knew was possible. We're more courageous. We have the energy. Things that we didn't even know possible become possible because there's no other choice. We decide and there's no other way around it. I think you could probably relate to, and you think back on your life, you could probably think of some times where you've done this, where you've gone further than you knew you could, where you've done things that you didn't know possible. I often ask parents when they've had, lots of kids, and I talk to them later, I'm like, how did you have 4 kids or 10 kids? And they're like, I don't know, I just did. chances are there's something in your life that you just got through. I can think of lots of situations in my life, and one of the ones that comes in mind right away is that when Troy and I first were moving to Vancouver, I had less than 2 weeks to pack up our whole house to find a new place to live in Vancouver, which is one of the tightest rental markets in the whole world, to quit my job and to wrap it up while he was at work, and we had to move across the country, like 2 weeks to do all that. That was survival mode. And I remember going into it thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to make or break us. And I'm really lucky that it made us. And the funny thing is that when it was like push comes to shove, I don't know if that's the right way to say this, but I'm going to go with it. Like we had to come together. We had no choice. We had to move out. We had to find a new place to live. And we did it. We got creative. We didn't get a lot of sleep, but honestly, we had fun and we made it happen, and it made us stronger. I tapped into energy and creativity that I never had before. So you know what I'm talking about there, and maybe you can relate. Maybe you've been through a busy season or a project at work. I've often found as well, after we've passed, a loved one has passed away, there's also a different connection that can be established in this survival season of grief. So you know what I'm talking about here. I'm saying that sometimes these situations, this survival, it's everything. It's important, and it actually serves us and makes us better. Then there's the other type of survival mode, and that's when it feels heavy, where we feel uncomfortable. There's a lot of sadness, lots of anxiety. It's stressful, and it's not a good place. This is the survival that doesn't have an end date, that it's indefinite, and it's also, at the same time, it's not sustainable. And if you're listening, you know this is true. Like you know the energy. There's a difference between the two. Again, I'm not talking about, survival mode for a couple days, a couple weeks when we had a natural disaster, a family emergency, the beginning of a pandemic, just as an example. I'm talking about the season when it's gone past that zone of survival mode. And frankly, we're now just under-living our lives. We're settling and we're living in this unsustainable place in these situations with no end date. This is the time when you're in survival mode where it's not serving you. And that is what I'm here to talk about, because I do believe that you are made for more. Today, I'm talking about the energy and the perspective you have towards your situation, not the situation itself. I recognize many of you, like I have, feel like you're just trying to survive. You're in reactive mode. And I know that there's times when, yes, we do have to do this. But as an example, right now, if you're listening to this, we're over 3 months into the pandemic. And I know so many people are still in survival mode. And if you feel like you are still in survival mode, whether it's from a pandemic or anything else, and you know it's not working from you, it's time to shift. I want to be clear on this. I'm not saying this from an ego perspective or to make you feel like you should be doing more or you're not good enough or any of that crap. I say this for you, and I say this for your health, and I say it for 2 reasons. Number 1, it is not healthy to stay in stress mode. If you are in this survival, you are not doing your body a service. You're compromising your immune system. You're in fight, flight, or freeze mode, and it doesn't feel good. A quick Google search will tell you that stress is not good for you, and I'm not going to get into cortisol levels and all those things, but just know, and you know this, if you're not feeling good, if you feel like you're struggling, it's a cue that it's time to shift out of it. And number 2, I gotta say this is just as freaking important, that you are made to do more than just survive and die. Your life is still here. You are still breathing. You are still alive. And whatever life is throwing your way, I want you to make the most of whatever experience that is. Here is also a truth bomb that I gotta tell you right now, that it is an illusion. And this is always true, but especially I think right now, it's an illusion that we tell ourselves that when something happens, that then we will feel a certain way. When I get that job title, when I hit that revenue target, when I have that client, when I have that dollar number in the bank account, when I wear that specific size jeans, when I hit that number on the scale, or when my partner is perfect or he does that thing differently. And the truth is that that's not the way that it happens, ever. And I think so often a lot of us are saying, if you're listening in this pandemic or anytime, you might be saying, I'm just in this mode until we find the perfect house, or until I end up getting pregnant, or until I get that job, or until I go back to school, or until there's a vaccine, or whatever it is you're telling yourself, guys. It's an illusion. And this isn't just me telling you this. There's research behind this. Look at Sean Akers' work. He's a Harvard professor in positive psychology. What happens is that we tell ourselves, when this thing happens, then I'll be okay. Then I will be able to be happy, or whatever that is. And the truth is that as we get closer and we hit that marker, we just then move the goalpost again, and we never achieve the happiness and contentment and joy that we so deserve in our lives. This is true all of the time, and I see it way too often in my work. And what's happening right now, and if you're in a season of survival, like extended survival, let's call it that, extended survival mode, what's happening is a condensed version of this. And you are telling yourself that you cannot be happy, or you cannot be rested, or you cannot fill in however you want to feel until something else happens. And again, it's not to say we don't go through weeks or days of survival mode, but in the long term, we cannot live for something else in the outer world to come and to change our inner world. I'm going to say that again. We can't live for something else, and we can't wait for something in our outer world to come in and change our inner world. It has to come from us. It has to come from inside, and a decision that we are going to change, that we are going to change the way we feel, the way we see things, the way we experience our world today, regardless of what's happening outside the world. So when I say this, I mean that me too, we're not waiting for daycare to reopen. And trust me, I've struggled with that one. We're not waiting for a vaccine. We're not waiting for better weather. We're not waiting for the business to come back or our partners to improve or any other illusion we keep telling ourselves. I want to invite you to say that we take charge and we are in control, and we recognize our power, and we step into it today, my friend. Oh, I feel like that was a soapbox, but felt good. I hope you guys don't mind. All right. So how do we shift from this extended survival mode that's not working for us into something that is sustainable, into living again? I want you to start with number one. Ask yourself this, and this is a little blunt, but this whole episode is a little edgy, but I really am sharing this with you guys in service, and I believe that it'll help. So I want you to ask yourself this. What are you getting from being in survival mode? And probably more importantly, are you willing to let it go? And this is where it's super important to be honest. When you're in survival mode, there's something you're getting out of it. And this is a truth for anything. If you're doing it, if whatever habit it is, whether it's smoking or staying up late or waking up early or whatever it is, you do everything in your life because you're getting something from it. And so I want you to ask yourself, what are you getting from staying in this survival mode? Maybe you're getting sympathy. Maybe you're getting to play the victim. And trust me, I know this because I've done this. Maybe you're getting validation because people are seeing how hard things are, and that makes you feel better. Maybe you're getting to watch more Netflix. Maybe you're getting an excuse as to why you're not actually facing your fears because it's a lot safer and more comfortable to stay where you are. And I got to tell you guys, I know this, and I know this sounds a little raw and maybe a little cruel, but this is so important to dive into because when you understand why you're holding on to survival mode, you can then shift out of it. So let me give an example here. This is something that I often do is I overwhelm myself and put so many things on my plate, and I play the victim sometimes, or I get stuck in this survival mode myself or overwhelm, because what happens is that then I get to play into this whole, I'm a solo parent, I do everything, I get it all done, and I get all these people saying things like, oh, you're so amazing for all you're doing, or I don't know how you're doing. And I get this validation that feels really darn good. And the impact of that is that I don't actually focus on what's important to me, and I'm not always the happiest I can be, and I'm not always the best mom that I can be and the best partner I can be. And so what I have to do is first understand that, and this is what I'm inviting you to do too, which is, what are you getting from the situation? What are you getting from being in survival mode? And step two is the honest question of, are you willing to let go of this? And for the sake of your health, your vitality, your life, your best self, I want you to be inspired to say yes, that I'm willing to let go of the validation, the sympathy. I'm willing to let go of the Netflix. Girl, are you ready? You're willing to let go of the excuses, the comfort for what's really in your heart and what is meant for you in this life and in this moment. Okay, so I'm going to assume that you recognize, you can understand what you're getting from survival mode, and you're willing to let this go. Because if you're not, then you may as well turn this off right here. But if you're willing to let it go, if you're willing to go and shift from survival to joy, to life, to thriving again, let's keep going. So step two is to choose a different perspective. And I think this gets a bit of a bad rap because everyone's like, oh, just change your perspective. And a lot of people are like, well, how do you actually do that? So let me give you a really fun exercise that I often do with my clients. It's a coaching exercise that you can do with a friend, with a partner, with your kids, with coworkers, and it's a great way to shift perspective. You can do this with business problems, with family, with life, with anything going on. So here's how it works. What you want to do is you want to grab a piece of paper, maybe a few actually, And you can do this with Post-its and write down what is the situation. Like, what is the piece that you're stuck on? What's the challenge you're dealing with? And try and keep that as neutral as possible. So, for example, instead of being like exhausted because of blah, 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 be like, okay, working from home with kids is my current challenge, or career direction is my current thing I'm struggling with, or business direction, or staying healthy. Try and keep it as neutral and fact-based as you can. Then what I want you to do is literally put that piece of paper, the Post-it note, on the floor, step away from it, and then again, you can do this with a friend, a partner, with your family, or you can write it out if that works for you too. But let it all out. What is your current perspective, your thoughts, your feelings towards that situation, that piece of paper that you're looking at? What are your current beliefs about your career direction? What are you currently feeling about your business or about staying healthy or whatever challenge it is, whatever's going on? Maybe it's the pandemic. Maybe it's a recession. Maybe it's moving cities, changing jobs, whatever that is, right? Your current perspective, let that all out, and you can talk it out, write it out, whatever works there, and give it a name. Maybe it is, you can set the date that it is, or however, whatever you want to call this perspective. Sometimes my clients will call it like Eeyore because they end up realizing they sound kind of like, meh, 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 meh. You can maybe relate to that. Okay, then what you're going to do is you're going to physically move your body. So this is actually combining left brain and right brain thinking. We're using our bodies and our creativity. This is going to allow us to access different parts of our brain and different parts of our intelligence. We're going to physically move and look at the paper from a new perspective and choose a different way to look at it. I'm going to give you a couple fun ways to do this. And I want you to do this a couple different times, but you might decide to look at it from the perspective of a hero, or from one of your favorite movies, or a song, or a color, or a quote, or a city, or anything like that. Like, have fun and get silly with this. So, for example, if I was choosing a hero, I might say, okay, what would Oprah say? And literally feel yourself stepping into the Oprah perspective and look at that challenge, that problem, that situation, that neutral thing there. And like, what would Oprah say about changing career directions? What would Oprah say about a recession? What would Oprah say about changing jobs or changing cities? What would Beyonce say? What would Beyonce do? Maybe let that all out and go with that. Like, what are the things from that perspective, what is the thoughts? What are the feelings? What are the actions that you would take from that perspective? And let it all out, go with it, and then do this again. And do this a couple times. Do this maybe 5-6 times so you have different perspectives. If you're doing this with a coach or a friend, it's really cool to have them have a piece of paper and write down some of the things that you say out loud. If you do that for yourself, that works too. Give that perspective a name and put it down, and then move on and look at your situation, your scenario from a different perspective. So some other examples, and I'm giving you my ideas, but you can obviously create your own. Maybe you pick your favorite color, and that's yellow. What would yellow have? And I know this seems kind of weird, but we have to change your perspective. It's not something you can say, I'm just going to change my perspective. Like, we can't. Here's another soapbox coming. We can't just change something. It's not the way that works. We actually have to do something different to get something different. And that's what this is about. So I know it seems kind of silly, but trust me. So here's what you would do. You would say, okay, what would yellow have to say about this? What would pink have to say about this? What if I was thinking about the song, Britney Spears' Stronger Song, or Sorry Not Sorry, or Here Comes the Sun? What would that say or do about this scenario? And I know that seems kind of funny, but play with it, have fun. And what will happen is at the end, you now will have 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever you feel like, different perspectives on that one scenario. And with each one of them, you're going to have different feelings, different thoughts, and different actions that you could do with respect to that situation, the challenge you're having, whatever it is that you're facing. Now, I would also say this, I would suggest at least one other time have one of them be negative, because they don't all have to be positive. You could pick, what would Eeyore say about this? Or maybe like somebody grumpy in your family, or like, what would your least favorite teacher have said about this, or whatever that is, whatever it is. But like, have a diverse set of different perspectives. Now, here comes the powerful part. Now you pick, and I want you to remember that you are always in charge of your perspective. You always get to choose. You're always empowered. Right now, you're just choosing the perspective that you're in. And if you know what, if you want to go back to it after all that, you've checked them all and you're like, no, I'm still going to sit in Eeyore or I'm still going to sit in where I am, then that's okay. That's your choice. You're empowered to do that. But I encourage you to brainstorm. And obviously, if you're feeling stuck, I'm going to invite you to choose a different perspective and write it out and then decide from this perspective, who are you being from this perspective and what will you do? And that will allow you to access new creativity, new ways of thinking, new ways of being, and new things to do to then move you forward with that particular situation, challenge, or opportunity that you have. So that is a coaching exercise. Obviously, I would love to actually do that with you, but it's not possible to do with all of you. But I hope that makes sense. I hope you guys give that a try. Give yourself about 15 to 20 minutes to do that and have fun with it. Again, you could do it on your own. You could do it with a coach, a mentor, a friend, your kids. Have fun with it. And you're basically literally creating different perspectives on a topic, a challenge, an opportunity. And then you are choosing one. And remember, you choose, you are always in charge, and take action from the perspective that you choose. All right. Now, I know that was a little long, but I wanted to share that with you because I think it's a really cool tool. Okay. Last thing you're going to do to shift from surviving to really living your life is to keep it super freaking simple. Now, you can't change everything. We cannot change all of our circumstances. We cannot go back in time. But my invitation to you is to check in. And this is something you will probably have to do often. Maybe every day, maybe every hour. When things are really hard, I have to do this every hour sometimes. And I do this with Troy sometimes, with my partner. You can do this with a friend. But ask yourself, what is one thing I can do in this moment or today to make this more joyful, to make this more fun, more loving, more playful, whatever you are craving and you are wanting? What can I do to have this moment feel more calm, to be more relaxed, to have this day be stress-free, whatever that is for you. And this is where you are your best expert. You know what you need. Just ask yourself that question. What is one thing I can do to make this day to feel alive today, to be present today, to be less stressed today? And literally just answer that question. What do you need right now and what can you do? Maybe it's as simple as playing music while doing the laundry. That can be really fun. Maybe it is asking for some help with writing an advertisement that you're doing or rewriting your resume. Maybe you can order dinner in or make your favorite meal or bake something fun. Can you call a friend? Would that brighten up your day? Can you have a nap? Oh my gosh, sometimes we just need a nap. What can you do to bring joy and life back to your life today in this moment? If you have to ask yourself this every hour you do it. Now, I got to tell you this, it's not all suddenly going to shift. You're not going to listen to this and, oh my gosh, the heavens are going to part. Everything's going to go back to whatever thing you think needs to happen, but it will, with small actions, with consistent action, with checking in often. You're going to see huge shifts, especially if you are empowered in your perspective and then you take action often to give yourself what you need. So that's pretty much it. It is time, this is my invitation to you, to let go of the illusion that when whatever it is, when that new job happens, when the vaccine is created, when daycare opens, when this person moves away, when I move away, that then things will change. I want you to recognize that right here today, you can create the change that you want in your life. There are some seasons, there are some times where we are in survival mode, but we have to be conscious of when that survival mode is allowing us to be focused and to prioritize and access the energy and creativity we need. And when being in survival mode is unsustainable and it's holding you back, keeping you stuck, keeping you unmotivated and unhappy. If you're listening to this and you know in your heart, you know in your soul, you know in your mind that the survival mode is not working for you, then here's what you do to change it. Number one, you recognize what you're getting from it and you be honest about it if you're willing to let it go. And by the way, if you're still listening to this and you've come this far, I know you are willing to let it go. Number two, you change your perspective. You get honest about your current perspective on the topic and you play around to create other perspectives. Then you choose an empowered perspective that you're going to want, that you take action from that perspective. Number three, you keep it simple. Every day ask yourself, what do I need? What is one thing I can do to create that right now? that is all, my friend. So if you are ready to stop surviving and to step into choice, into feeling alive, inspired, and motivated, this is for you. I believe that you are meant for more. You are not meant to survive and then die. You're meant to enjoy life, to feel alive, to have fun, to dance in the rain and to fall down and cry really big tears and to pick yourself back up because you are strong and you are wise and you are capable. Now, if you are listening to this, I don't know when you're listening to it, but if you're listening to it in 2020, in May or the beginning of June, then I've got something special for you because I know a lot of people are in this situation. I know a lot of you are. So I'm hosting a free 7-day Refresh Your Goals challenge, really Refresh Your Year challenge, starting June 1st, and I would love to have you be a part of it. I'm dropping the links in the show notes, lisamichaud.com/7-day refresh, and I want you to check it out. And by the way, if you're listening to this after that date, that's okay. There will be a waitlist available because I'll probably run something like this again. So make sure you sign up and check out Goalden Girls community because we do this often, and this is exactly what we're here for. So check out the link in the show note there too, or lisamichaud.com/community. Now, if you're ready to stop just surviving and you're ready to step into your power and feel alive, inspired, and motivated, you got to get into the 7-day Refresh Your Year challenge. This is for you if you are not willing to waste any more time, if you want to refresh and redesign or realign with your goals, if you want to stop feeling like the first half of the year was wasted or like you're so far behind, if you want to release that pressure and get clarity and really create a goal and an action plan for what's next, this is for you. Together, we're going to get intentional about how you spend the rest of 2020. You are going to feel proactive and intentional instead of always feeling like you're reacting to what's going on. You're going to have clarity on your goals and what is important to you. You're going to create your next goal plan and you are going to take action to make the most of this year and shift from surviving to seriously living your life the way you are meant to, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of the situation. So make sure you sign up for free. Again, if you're a little past those dates, no worries. Sign up, get on the wait list, lisamichaud.com/7-day refresh. I cannot wait to see you in there. So that's it. That's all. If you enjoyed this episode, oh my gosh, if you could please do me a favor and leave us a written review. It makes a really big difference, and I would love to give you a shout out just for it. I forgot to do that today, full disclosure, but usually when I do my episodes, I give a shout out, and I would love to leave one just for you. So make sure you leave us a review, and thank you so much for listening. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. Thank you for being a part of this. You are seriously the best, and I cannot wait to see you in our 7-day Refresh Your Year challenge, or even better, in Goalden Girls community. Thank you so much for listening. If something spoke to you, send me a message by sharing this episode and tagging me on social media. If you know someone who would love to hear this episode, please share it with them too. Because I love surprises, make sure you subscribe to the Goalden Girls podcast today. It's the only way to find out about bonus surprise episodes and make sure you don't miss a single beat on your golden journey. Thanks again for listening, and I will talk to you in the next episode of the Goalden Girls podcast.